This is the first exercise. I've launched Max. First thing we're going to do is set the project folder. I use a folder on my laptop under LT Learning. And so all the folders that 3D Max makes are located there. Now we'll save the file. We'll save it as 18 and Exercise1, and notice that it's in the LT Learning and then the Scenes folder for 3D Studio Max. First thing we'll do is make a plane, click, go to the command panel, find the primitive. But wait, the first thing you should always do is check your units. Alright, so back to the command panel. I want to make a plane. Click, drag. While it's still highlighted and you're still in generation mode, you can edit the parameters, which for here we'll make it 100 by 100. Alright, you can do it in a variety of ways while it's still selected or in the modify panel. So views, there's the default viewport setup, which has top, left, front, and a perspective view. What you need to do, if that's not desirable, you can actually make up or choose any one of the following viewport configurations. And then you can customize which view is in each viewport by going to the viewport name, which you see in the upper left-hand corner. So command panel, box, click, drag, and then click upward because it has a height. We can go now to modify panel, and I'm just going to use 5 as my base number here. Now we'll make the sphere, click and drag. Remember, you're clicking the center of the sphere, so it's half above and half below the plane. Alright, notice I selected the plane by mistake. That can happen if you don't zoom in. Click the object, and then you're going to pull it upward. Constrain the movement just upward by clicking on that axis. Now we'll make a cone. Click, drag for the radius, then another for the height, and then for the taper. File, save. Now, in class, we looked at the Scene Explorer, and then we also looked at the layer panel. I like to dock them and adjust. And so this is a way you can look at the number and the name of all the objects in your scene, or you can use layers to begin to organize them. Like objects occupy the same layer. So I'm attempting to make 2 additional layers, one for the camera and one for the geometry. If an object is selected and you make a layer, it'll automatically put that object on the layer. If not, you can click and drag and move a piece of geometry to a layer. That's fine with me. I'll change this name here to geometry. Right, so let's get everybody, sphere, all of them are on the geometry layer. And layer 1, I'm going to name camera, and that's where we will define the cameras. If you do something and you're happy with it, file, save. Don't want to repeat it. Okay, so now we want to modify, change the radius of the sphere to 5. Oh, 2.5 is fine. So its overall diameter is 5. The radius for the cone is also going to be 5. And we'll make the height 20. Everything divisible by 5. Okay, so now we need to adjust them. So these are the location for the transform tools. If you would like to transform using coordinates, you right mouse click on either the move, the rotate, or the scale. So here's the transform type in dialog box for move, and I'm going to change just the x coordinate so it's far to the left, and keep the y and the z coordinate 0 for the box. The cone is going to be on the opposite side of the origin, so we'll give it the x coordinate of 20, and we'll keep y and z at 0. Now the sphere, as you know, it's kind of large, so if you put its origin at 0, it's going to be half above and half below that plane. So you're going to have to consider where the center point of that sphere should be, right? So there we are at 0. It disappears below, half below the plane. 2.5 isn't quite enough, and at 5, the full sphere is now above the plane. So again, the radius of the sphere is 5. File save. Okay, so now we're going to create the camera. Command panel, create tool, which is the plus, hit the camera symbol, and you're going to create a target camera. So, and then you click and drag in order to create the camera. Now you can see on the layers and in the Scene Explorer that the camera 1 and camera 2 exist, and they also have a target. So now you can adjust the position of the viewer or the camera, as well as the position of the target. It's going to take me quite a while here, but I'm going to attempt to place the target at the center of the sphere for both cameras, which is 5, 0, 0. Well, 0x, 0y, and a positive 5 in the z. I'll adjust camera 2. I'm going to have this a little bit higher in the scene. We can, when the time comes, we'll be able to see shadows better. There's camera 1, and the other is camera 2. And we'll change its shading from wireframe to default. We can close the transform type in dialog box, and now I can just move this freeform. Notice I can move it in the X and Y if I select inside that, and the yellow box becomes highlighted. I'm attempting to change the location of the target again. Right mouse click to get the on the move tool to get the transform type in, and change that X coordinate finally to 0. We'll do the same thing for target 2, 0, 0, positive 5 eventually. Now we're going to render. There's the teapot with the gear. That's the settings. Alright, it's production render. Scanline render is our renderer, and we're going to render either the camera 1 or camera 2 viewport. We're not animating, we don't need to change the frames, but we do need to alter the output size, right, which is based on the resolution, the physical resolution that we need to print. So you might not want to use these settings. You might want to adjust them when it's time for you to do your homework. I'm using an anamorphic proportion. So it's 1200 by something. And now, in order to bring it into InDesign, I need to save it. So you have to check its location. It's in the render output folder. You're going to give it a name, and for this exercise or for any still renders, I'm going to recommend that you save it as a TIFF. You can actually save it as a 16-bit or a 32-bit if you choose, but considering the simplicity of this, 8-bit's fine. So now hit the render button, and the render dialog box will appear, and you will see the results of your work. You can shut that by hitting the upper right hand X. Go to camera 2, change the file name to EX1 second image, save, and hit the render button. Up comes the dialog box, and you're done. File save, file exit, and now we'll prepare to bring things into InDesign, and I've saved a proper template for you on Canvas. So file open. We're looking for the IDML file. Okay, so here's the basic layout. There's only one layer, but please note that there are master items which should appear on every page. Why should you have to reconstitute it? Create a new layer by clicking on the layer tool, and I'm going to make two new ones eventually, one layer for image and one layer for text. So image layer is active. I'm now going to file place, and I'm going to place the first rendered image from 3D Studio Max. So I've got to go to the correct folder, Hasbrook, LT Learning, render output, and there are the two images. Place, click, and there you go. Now I want to place again exercise 2, but note, that image changed and it didn't give me a second one. Remember to deselect the frame when you want to bring in the second image. All right, so you can adjust the position of these entities, you can line them up, you can create new guides. There is a variety of things that you can do. Important here is the fitting, where you fit frame proportionally. That means that it will stretch the pixels to fit your frame. Fill content proportionally will fill the frame in either the X or the Y axis, but not change the proportion of the image. So in the future, I would suggest that you keep with the fit content proportionally. Good. I'm going to request that you put a caption. Mine are relatively simple here. Just make the new layer for the text, name it, use the text tool to create the text. And I'm not gilding the lily here. I have camera 1 and camera 2. I'll adjust the position of these, and then we'll get to editing the title bar. I use guides. You click on the ruler and drag in order to position the guide. I'm looking to keep the dimension between the image and the text the same for both image 1 and image 2. I'm using the border also. Now here we are at the title bar. In order to edit, you need to Control, Shift, and click on the text box in order to change the text. So click Alt, click Shift. There's the text tool, and I'm going to change this to Exercise 1. I will do the same thing here for the date, for the name, well, the name of my name, the name of the student submitting the project, and then the name of the exercise, which for this really could be Exercise 1 or the scene, since it's really about just making the basic essentials to a scene. All right. File, save. And remember, this is the Indesign document. It is not the file that you will submit to Canvas. So now you can use this same Indesign for every one of the assignments that you're intending to submit over the course of the semester, so they're all in the same location or all in the same file, because I've made the master objects, which you just have to edit based upon the criteria. Okay, file, save, and then you'll go File, Export, PDF settings to high quality. And notice now that the file extension is PDF. You can save that, export it. As usual, try to ignore the things that Adobe is giving to you. We don't need to try it now. And we're going to, let's see right here, launch Acrobat Reader, open the file, confirm that it is as directed, file, open. Here's Exercise 1, last name, good. And there's the folder. Let's zoom, see it full. All right, fine. The text is correct, no misspellings as far as I can tell. The exercise is finished. You'll now just submit that through Canvas. Thank you.